sacrifice, determination.
You can be intentional about your character, your work ethic.
You've got to be on the same page.
Today we're calling to let you know we are debt-free, house and everything.
You have done really, really, really good, and you're not going to quit now.
It's been a huge witness for us to be able to share that.
It was time to get serious.
Intentionality, people. Celebrate the success.
Oh my goodness, thank you so much.
This is your show, America.
If I knew at 22 what I know now, our life would be better off.
It's the show that's changing the world. Now you don't just listen to the show, you live it. Live from the headquarters of Ramsey Solutions, broadcasting from the Dollar Car Rental Studios, it's the Dave Ramsey Show, where debt is dumb, cash is king, and the paid-off home mortgage has taken the place of the BMW as the status symbol of choice. I'm Dave Ramsey, your host. Thanks for joining us. We're going to do something really special this hour. I don't know if you know this or not, but 54% of the gross domestic product in the United States, meaning of all revenues created in our economy, are created by small businesses. Small businesses account for 66% of all job growth. Small business is about as American as anything can get, more so than apple pie, Chevrolet, and baseball. The idea that you can start, dream, and be somebody in this country is still alive and well, and we know this because our EntreLeadership team works with small businesses every day. We're going to do an EntreLeadership small business theme hour. If you own or operate or wish you did a small business or work in one, and you've got a business question about anything, hiring and firing, about money, about business model, about collecting your freaking receivables, whatever it is, this is your hour. Small business, men and women, we love you. You're heroes.
Amen.
You are the economy. The phone number is 888-825-5225. That's 888-825-5225. Joining me this hour, Ramsey personality Ken Coleman, who has The Ken Coleman Show, where he takes your career questions, but he also has a side job as the
That's right.
as the host of the EntreLeadership podcast, which is now 7 million downloads a year.
Wow.
It's a monster. And one of our EVPs, our executive vice president, sits on our operating board over all things leadership, which would be business boutique and EntreLeadership. Daniel Tardy joins us as well.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
We're going to bring in one of our EVPs, put a microphone on him, and see if he can answer a question.
This will be fun.
This is scary.
No.
We're going to be exposed.
Well, now that is always possible when you sit next to an icon. He is in the Hall of Fame. You and I are not.
I know what happens behind the curtain. He's taking a big risk bringing me in here.
That's true. Well, we've done this before.
Yes, we have. We've done a panel together.
Yeah.
And it was quite popular. When we do one of the EntreLeadership events, the three of us sitting up there cutting up and answering questions.
Essentially.
And so Blake Thompson, our producer, I don't know what we call him, C3PO or something.
Emeritus.
He's in charge of all things production, says you guys are getting on there together and you're going to cut up and you're going to answer questions and help small business guys. And we can do that.
Yes, sir.
So we'll take your questions. Well, welcome, all of you.
Thanks for having us.
All
Yes,
right.
thanks.
Sarah's in Dallas, Texas. Hi, Sarah. Your question for the panel.
Hey guys, thank you so much for taking my call. Okay, so my question for you is, how do you work through the barrier of fear in scaling up a cash-based business? We started small, now we are over 7 figures, and everything is based in cash, which is a scary thing to do every month. So your advice, please.
Okay. When you say cash, do you mean you're physically handling $1 million of cash a year, or you're just not borrowing money?
We don't borrow money at all.
So why is that scary?
For us, we do behavior therapy, and it's we wait for insurers. So insurance payments, anything can be between 60 to 120 days in AR when we take on a new patient. So sometimes we are waiting a really long time for any sort of accounts receivable to come in, and that can kind of be a little scary when trying to plan out the business.
Absolutely. And you're already doing $1 million a year top line.
Yeah, last year was our first year to break 7 figures.
Way to go!
Wow, that's
proud of you.
Good job.
Yeah, thank you.
Sarah, you're going to have to get there incrementally. So good job. You're in a really great spot, and it's still going to feel a little bit scary. But the difference between what you're talking about paying in cash and going as you grow and going and getting a line of credit from the bank is you're going to have to become your own bank. And so you got to start each month setting aside a little bit of your profit and build up enough where you can cover that 60 to 120 lag. And then you're not going to worry about it because you can pay the bills, you can pay your overhead, not worry about paying your team, do some marketing, grow the business, and you're going to pull from what we call retained earnings. And then as you get paid, you're going to put back the retained earnings and cap it off, so to speak, before you bonus yourself out as the leader. So you got to become your own bank. That's the answer.
Yeah, I think Dave's right. There's nothing for you to be afraid of if you listen to.
That was Daniel.
Yes, but you also said there's why are you afraid? You're really asking the question, what is causing the fear? And I think in this situation, it's I'm afraid, or we are afraid the money's not going to come in, and you're afraid of your system isn't working.
You don't have your pad.
There it is. And so when you take the retained earnings that Daniel's talking about, and then you can fix your system and you get a system that works, it takes the fear away. The fear is of the unknown. So how do you address the fear? Well, we get a system in place, we get cash in place, and then there is no fear.
What's the minimum household budget you guys can live on, the two of you? You're both working in the business, right?
No, so it's me and my business partner. We've both always taken just a really modest salary.
How much?
So it's just $45,000
Each?
each.
And what's your profits a year on $1 million?
It's been at least 20%. And
200,000, so you're taking 90 out, and that leaves you. Okay, perfect. That's exactly what you need. So run a P&L, run a profit and loss statement each month, and out of that, pay the $45,000 to each of you, right? Annualized, okay? And then with what's left, we're going to call that profit after staff has been paid and your staff, okay?
Sure.
Take a percentage of that every month the rest of your life and build retained earnings. Until you've just got way too much cash in retained earnings, but that's probably not going to happen. Because what happened here is we do that, and we've never been able to catch up.
Right.
You know, we never, no matter how much we save, we can never get to the 3 to 6 months of business operating expenses. And so, but we always are putting, and the more money we make, the more money we put in there. We're always putting a percentage of our net profits. The second thing I want you to think about, Daniel's exactly right. His suggestion is the answer, and it's the retained earnings issue. The second thing I want you to think about is diversifying your product line where you're not dependent on the government for all your income. Let's have a private offering as well as a governmental offering that's cash on the barrelhead, because you just do not want to have a business where people control you and they're called the federal government. If that's your only product line, that's just leaves you so vulnerable to a government shutdown or to some kind of another issue. And you just need, when you've got, you control the controllables, and you can't control this one. So you need to diversify your product line and have another stream of income. Ken Coleman, Daniel Tardy, Executive Vice President of EntreLeadership, are with me this hour. We're the panel answering small business questions. The phone number for your small business questions are 888-825-5225. EntreLeadership, the podcast. Be sure you check it out. Ken Coleman is the host, and we're now at about 7 million downloads a year. It's actually growing pretty fast, probably faster than that. Big time folks on there like Mark Cuban, Pat Lencioni, Simon Sinek, Craig Groeschel, others. Be sure you check it out. This is the Dave Ramsey Show.
My name is Patty Whitehead. I grew up outside of Athens, Georgia, and I'm an attorney in Nashville. So I just spent a lot of money on clothes and shopping and never really thought about it until I needed to house my apartment. My dad said, well, open up a credit card. 4 months later, when finals times came around and you were down to almost zero in your bank account, oh, finals are over, we need to go celebrate. I started thinking, wow, this is gonna be an issue. This time, all my credit cards were maxed out and they had closed them. But it got to the point where I couldn't feed myself. that I went to my friend and said, something needs to change here, because I would just stay up at night crying. And my friend was like, you should go to Financial Peace University.
Hello, I'm Ken Coleman. Every day on my show, I talk to people who want to find their purpose to do work that matters. Now, if you need an education or a certification to be who you were created to be, I want to tell you about my alma mater, Liberty University. Liberty has been showing students how to find their purpose for nearly 50 years, and they can help you get there affordably. They haven't raised their online tuition in over 4 years. So whether you want to learn on campus or online, Liberty offers over 700 degree programs. For those of you who feel like you don't have the time or you don't have the money to learn what you need to know, Liberty University's online education can help you get where you want to be without hurting your budget or your family. Check them out right now. Go to liberty.edu/Ken. That's liberty.edu/Ken. Go. No excuses. Change your future right now.
Hey guys, hope you're enjoying this EntreLeadership theme hour. I'm joined now by one of our EntreLeadership team members. What's your name, sir?
Bubba Frizzell.
And what do you do with EntreLeadership?
One of the business and leadership coaches.
That's a fun job. So for those who don't know, maybe they're watching out there, they're going, I don't know what they're talking about, this made-up word. What is EntreLeadership?
Yeah. So EntreLeadership is, when Dave started the company, it grew. It started growing like crazy. And so all of a sudden Dave looked up and he said, hey, in order to keep achieving this vision that I have for this company, I need to grow leaders. Yeah. I need to grow the people around me if I want to accomplish the goals that I want to set out to accomplish, because there's people who need hope. And so what Dave started doing was he started teaching people around our company, the leaders on our company, these principles to say, hey, I want you to come with me where we're going. And so EntreLeadership started here, where Dave started developing leaders, and then over time we started realizing there's small business owners in America that can deliver hope to people around them. We want to help develop those small business owners with the same EntreLeadership principles that Dave has used for the last 25 plus years to grow Ramsey Solutions. Yeah. So in a nutshell, that's what EntreLeadership is.
That was a great summary from Bubba there. And if you haven't checked it out, the EntreLeadership book really started there with the playbook. Dave outlined it. Here's how to do hiring and firing. Here's how to motivate a team. And so it all started there. Now it's grown. I mean, how many people are on the EntreLeadership team now?
There's about 60 of us now.
Wow, 60 people. Yeah. And we're going to talk more about what all those 60 people do, because you guys are going, 60 people just for the EntreLeadership team? That is crazy. But we're going to be diving into how people like Bubba are helping small business leaders and owners around the country, and how all of our resources are equipping them as well. So Bubba's going to be hanging out with us for the next few segments. Bubba, thanks for hanging out today. Appreciate it.
Looking forward to it, man. Glad to be here.
We'll be back with more soon.
It's an EntreLeadership theme hour with a panel answering your small business questions, your business questions. Open phones here at 888-825-5225. You can actually get through with your small business questions if you dial right this second. Dial it. 888-825-5225. Joining me is Ramsey personality Ken Coleman, host of The Ken Coleman Show, and also host of the 7 million downloads a year EntreLeadership podcast. And you can subscribe to that. You can download it. You can listen to it. And business people listen to that every time it downloads. How often do we download one of those?
Every Monday morning, you're going to get a fresh episode.
And what is the stuff? What do we cover on that? I know, but I'm going to ask you like I don't know.
Yeah, well, we unpack the EntreLeadership playbook. You know, it's good for people to know that we actually run on the principles that Dave started this company with, and everything from the practical things like hiring and firing, and then how do you build culture and things like, you know, developing leaders. The entire way that we run the business, we cover that content, and then many times we'll have a guest on who we believe aligns with those values, those practices. So you're also getting best-selling authors, thought leaders, captains of industry, you know, world championship coaches. If they're a leader, or they are a high performance person, we try to get them. And we're delivering conversations that allow you to get behind the curtain.
Yeah, like Craig Rochelle leading arguably the largest church in America today.
Absolutely.
At lifechurch.tv over in Oklahoma City. He's on episode number 307 that came out on the 25th of February and talking about the know, feel, do, the 3 steps to effective communication. And he leads a large team. He's a world-class leader.
Yeah, and if you
teaches
think
leadership everywhere.
That's right. And they have these leaders in campuses all around the country and all throughout Oklahoma. So effective communication for a church like that that's structured that way is really, really important. So he's giving us practical wisdom on what to do.
Dustin is in Indianapolis. Dustin, your question for the panel.
Yeah, thanks for taking my call. Sure. I have a question regarding, and I've heard you kind of talk around this and teach around this, but your interviews, one of them is a personal mission statement and a budget. And most recently, actually, I heard you talk about 2 weeks ago during the EntreLeadership podcast, the summary. And how do you ask somebody for their budget without making them feel weird about it? I've had better luck with that with single folks as opposed to married folks. I know that I try to outline it saying that we want to serve you well by doing this, but it's always a weird thing. They feel like it's a negotiation, like we're trying to negotiate salary at that point. And we're not. We're just trying to serve them well. But what suggestions do you have for me regarding how to ask that question and ask for that budget?
Yeah, Dustin, look, it's all about how you set this up. If you come out just with an email and say, send us your budget, that's not a typical part of most hiring processes. But every step in our hiring process is asking the question, are we going to be a great fit for you? And are you going to be a great fit for us? So the more we know about you, can you live on what we're going to pay you? We want to know that before you start with us. Because if you jump in here and you don't have a budget and we're paying you too little for what your lifestyle demands, you're going to be miserable. And then you're going to quit, or you're going to be mad, and the team's going to be mad around you because you're mad. And we just want to know that we're compatible. And so as much as we can get to know each other you think about it like dating. We're not going to get married if we haven't had a lot of dates. We get to know everything about you. You get to know everything about us because we want a great long-term relationship. So you got to set it up that way and let people know, hey, this is kind of unconventional. Not everybody does this. And it's confidential. We're not going to share it with anybody. But really, we're trying to figure out if what you're getting paid is going to match what you need to live on.
And oh, by the way, it has absolutely nothing to do with our offer to you. The only possibility is that you might get a little bit more out of the offer. But if we're not going to offer you less than we would have just because we see you have room in your budget, it's quite the opposite. So it's our job as leaders to care for and serve our team. And we're going to do that job. And if this is uncomfortable or weird to you and you think it's intrusive, then that may tell you that you're not a fit. Mm-hmm. Because we're not coming at it with a big brother is watching mentality. We're not coming at it with an intrusive mentality. And, actually I had one lady send me an email back and she said, based on your inappropriate request for my personal financial data, I am hereby withdrawing my consideration for employment. And I'm like, well, good, because nobody that works here talks like that.
You will not like us here.
We don't even use sentence structure and phrases like that. We don't talk like that here. We would have just said, you hillbillies are nuts. You ain't getting my numbers. Now that I could have related to, but, no, you're not getting hired. So that, you're looking for clues all throughout the process that this is moving in the right direction or that this is a mistake. And and I think what Daniel Tardy just said was very important. If you get married to someone and you don't know their numbers, well, you're stupid. And if you go to work for somebody and you don't know their numbers, well, you're stupid. And by the way, you can ask for our budget if you want. Now, we're not going to give you the entire budget, but you can ask us what the sales are. In this area, you're going to work for EntreLeadership. We'll tell you what the gross revenues of EntreLeadership are, and that we can pay our bills. Mm-hmm. You're worried about that? That's fine. It's turnabout's fair play, and so, but it's a communication process. Yes, doing unusual things in the interview process is awkward.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
but don't you want unusual people working for you? You don't want status quo. You want great people to work at a great company.
Well, that's what I was going to say. The leadership lesson here is that, Dustin, just because it feels weird doesn't mean it's not right. It feels weird because nobody else does it.
It is weird.
And if it needs to be weird.
It feels awkward.
Yeah, but welcome to, that's the price of admission.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you want to lead and you want to lead well, there are going to be moments as leaders you got to step into the awkward. And I think, Daniel, you nailed it. Just explain the why. And if they don't like it, they're not supposed to be there.
Yeah. And just say, you know what, this is a little awkward.
Yeah, there you go. Call it out.
Sometimes if you say it, it's like, what was it our kids used to do? My kids, when they were teenagers, they would do like awkward turtle.
Oh, the awkward turtle.
You've seen awkward turtle?
Oh, yeah.
Like the turtle's turned upside down on its back and he's awkward. And, it's just an awkward turtle moment, right? And here we go. And so, listen, and you joke about, here's why we do this. Here's why we do the spousal interview.
That's right.
We go out. If y'all don't know, if you want to get hired on our team, the last interview, after basically you're hired, I mean, you got to screw it up now, okay? Or something's got to happen. The Holy Spirit's just got to ring somebody's bell. But basically, you're done. And the final icing on the cake is the spousal interview. And it's not that we're going to interview your spouse. We're just all going out to dinner with your spouse. And, if you're going on work on Daniel's team, it'd be, Daniel and his wife, Emily, and the four of you just sit down and you just talk and you get a sense of the air. And you look at the spouse and go, is this a fit? And the spouse can ask you questions. And you get to know the family, because by God, when you get married, you're marrying your in-laws. When you bring somebody on the team, the spouse at home throwing grenades in the middle of my business from back home doesn't work.
Look, if you're running a small business, you have got to quit worrying about what am I supposed to do in the hiring process. It's your freaking business. What do you want it to look like? If you want to be the best place to work like we are in Nashville, guess what? You can't do what the average companies do. You got to have your own path. And so you're going to do stuff that's weird. But the weird thing is you get to be the best place to work and you got great people, great culture. That's the best thing you can do.
But I think the main thing that Dustin's saying, and I completely agree with him, and I appreciate him asking the question, is just, okay, how do I emotionally process the awkwardness of this? And if you can kind of just get comfortable with it, and here's the other thing, the more you do it, the more you'll get comfortable with it.
That's right.
I mean, it's like, the first time somebody quit here, it almost put me in the hospital. I couldn't handle the rejection. It's like, you don't want to work here? You don't want to work for me? What? It's like, I can't believe it. I'm so rejected. I just got fired. And you don't, because when you quit your job, you just fired your boss, by the way, if you didn't know that. And so, I just got fired as a leader. What happened? And it killed me. And the first time I had to fire somebody, I was almost in intensive care. And it's not that people have become a commodity. I've just lived through it a bunch of times when somebody quits or when we have to let somebody go. And I'm okay now. I didn't die from it. And so it's a lot less awkward now.
You got reps.
Because of reps. There you go. It's a Small Business Theme Hour. EntreLeadership. Daniel Tardy, the EVP of that area. That's a treat to have him on the air and answering your questions. This guy's one of our operating board members. Ken Coleman, Ramsey Personality, and me. We're your panel, and you can ask questions. The phone number is 888-825-5225. Jump in while you got the chance. When we're running a business, we pour ourselves out for it. We get her done. We get up, we leave the cave, we kill something, we drag it home. We fight, we scratch, we claw, even when nobody understands. And we draw a line in the sand, and with our team, we say, you're either with me or against me. As an entree leader, passivity is simply not an option. You can't sit back and watch everything happen and call yourself a leader. By definition, a leader is moving because a leader gets there first.
Building a world-class team begins with being a world-class company.
A battle is necessary. You and I know you didn't sign up for easy. We signed up for significance.
Almost everything you're thinking about is about survival. God's comes to grow your company and create more resources to help you and your family and your people survive.
This economy isn't an industrial one anymore. It's a connection one.
We're not done yet. We're just getting started. The thing
things that cause you to be able to lead are decisions. You get to decide your character, your level of integrity, whether you care about your people.
We've got to focus forward. Focusing forward will allow you to take your team to places they've never been before. But you have to go first.
Leaders hold a position of power, but those who lead inspire us.
I believe in capitalism. I believe in the free enterprise system. That's why I believe in you.
So I purchased the timeshare back in 1997 because I was looking for something to do with my kids. Over the course of 15 or so years that we used it, we went a lot of really fun places. Irreplaceable memories, no doubt. By 2012, I had a third child who was then 9 years old, but my older two had graduated from high school. Times did change, and we wanted the freedom of being able to enjoy vacations wherever we can go, when we can go. Then I did see some advertising for Timeshare Exit Team. I was absolutely elated because I had had so much regret and remorse over the years for having gotten into the timeshare, and I was extremely impressed with how professional they were and how straight and to the point they were in getting me out of my timeshare.
Time changes everything. If your timeshare no longer fits your life, call the team that can talk to you about options for your timeshare. Call Timeshare Exit Team today or go to timeshareexitteam.com.
All right, I'm back here with Bubba, one of our EntreLeadership coaches, and we had a whole thing in the YouTube chat because they're wondering if that was your real name.
That's true. I don't understand why that has to be a question.
It shouldn't be.
Is that just an odd name or something?
I think so, but it's a fun name to say, I gotta say. So, Bubba, I'm here with Bubba. I'm gonna keep saying it. Let's get into this coaching stuff. So, EntreLeadership's all about helping leaders grow themselves, their team, their profits. How do we do that?
Yeah, it's great. So we know that as a business owner, a lot of people started a business because they were really good at a skill. They were clueless as to how to lead, manage, and lead and manage people, honestly. They didn't know how to develop a team. They don't know how to develop a strategy. They don't know how to look into the future and say, hey, here's where I want to go. They started it because they were really good at a skill. And so how we do that is through two levels of coaching through our All Access program. One of which is you, as a business owner, a business leader, you get placed into a mastermind group where you're placed into a group of about 8 to 12 other owners or leaders. And those people will be your virtual board of advisors. That's the group that you're going to get accountability from every single month, and you're going to get perspective from every single month on the challenges or blockers that are in the way from you being able to achieve the strategy or the vision that you really believe God has called you to pursue with your business. So that's the one way, is through a mastermind. And then secondly, you can do some one-on-one executive coaching as well. And to find out more about that, you can just go to EntreLeadership.com. But it has the power to help you grow yourself, your team, and your profits, and I truly believe to transform you as an owner or business leader.
That's awesome. So what would you say your favorite part of this whole coaching process is?
Yeah, one of my favorite parts is getting to be a part of conversations with owners who truly show up not believing that they're able to do it. They've hit the wall. They don't know how to move forward. They're stuck. And so what we will work on is helping you develop a plan. We'll help you apply the EntreLeadership principles that David's used to build his business to help you move forward with your own.
That's awesome. Well, we are at 822 team members, and when I started about 6 years ago, we were just at 300 something. So it's amazing how this place has grown, and I love that we get to witness our core values, which we put up on the walls. They're everywhere. We get to kind of see those actually played out. That we don't just say all this stuff and then we do the opposite. We really do this stuff, and I love that we're now helping other business owners do the same with their business. So we'll see you in our next segment, Bubba.
See you then.
Small business is the backbone of America. Around Ramsey Solutions, we love small business people. You're our kind of folk. You know how to get up, leave the cave, kill something, and drag it home. We're taking your questions this hour in an EntreLeadership theme hour. The phone number here is, and the phones are open. There's available lines at 888-825-5225. 888-825-5225. Joining me on the panel, Ken Coleman, Ramsey personality, host of the EntreLeadership podcast, the vastly popular EntreLeadership podcast. You can learn more about it, of course, by downloading it at iTunes or Google Play or whatever else. About 7 million downloads a year of this weekly podcast. Also coming up in just a few weeks at the end of April 28th through May the 1st at the Manchester Grand Hyatt in San Diego is our annual event, The Big Dog. It's the biggest event we do of the year of all the different events we do. It's called the EntreLeadership Summit. It has been sold out for months. Peyton Manning will be speaking, Simon Sinek, Sarah Blakely, the founder of Spanx, her husband, Jesse Eitzler, CEO and entrepreneur. Carrie Lorenz, the first female pilot of an F-14 Tomcat. Marcus Buckingham, big best-selling author. Dr. Henry Cloud, our friend and leadership consultant, author of the book Boundaries. Patrick Lencioni, founder and CEO of the Table Group. Chris Hogan, author of Everyday Millionaires. Ken Coleman, host of the EntreLeadership podcast, and moi. Now, since it is sold out, we have an overflow hall that is going to be a first-class experience, not your chinchy overflow hall experience. It's the Grand Hall experience. Tickets are much less than if you could have gotten in, but they're still pretty pricey because it's worth it. And you're going to be there in the midst of the whole event. This event is not just occurring on the stage. There's stuff all week, all through the whole Grand Hyatt there. And if you want more information about this, you need to reach out to our team immediately because the Grand Hall is almost sold out. So text Summit 2019 to 44222. Try again. Text the words, no blanks, no spaces, no dashes, Summit 2019. All one phrase. Summit 2019 to this number. 44222. Brad is with us in Chicago. Hey, Brad, welcome to the Dave Ramsey Show. Your question for the panel.
Good afternoon, guys. Thanks for the opportunity to run a question past you.
Sure.
Brad.
I'm in a small family business. We're a distributorship, and we're starting to get to that point in life where we need to talk about transition from parents as owners to hopefully my wife and I as owners, trying to walk through that delicate balance of how do you do that. There's definitely a willingness to do that, but what's the best way to kind of broach that delicate topic? So we're getting pushed from a few different angles, but how do you deal with that in the most accurate and best way?
What do you mean push from a few different angles?
Where you heard from, let's say, your bank or attorney or what have you, that it's time to start thinking about this. Well, being all related to each other, you don't really think about it on a daily basis. I know you should, but it just hasn't really come up as a true sit-down. So what's the best way to initiate that sit-down to say, okay, we know we need to do this. How do we do this and make sure everybody's on the same sheet of music?
So it's Dad started the business. You and your wife. Are there other siblings?
There's one other sibling, but has nothing to do with it.
Okay. Do you want to run the business? Like, if you had a choice, is this something you want to do?
Yeah, I enjoyed it thoroughly. I mean, like any small business, it gives you headaches.
How old's Dad?
We just got to do them quick math. Just turned 64.
Okay. Oh, you're late. You're real late. What's the gross revenues of the business?
Annual, we average about 2.3 to 2.4 million.
60 team members?
4 at this moment, looking at a few this year. We went through a couple days of transition. We're in metalworking
What's your
industry.
business model? Oh, my God, that's wonderful for that gross.
What kind of business do you guys have?
We're a metal fab tooling and machinery distributor.
Wow. You got 4 people working around the clock then. Do that much revenue.
Well, they're just doing expensive items.
We probably work a little harder than we should.
So it's high-end custom jobs.
You got high-end custom stuff. Yeah, your per order is real high. Okay, good. Okay, we got our info. What do you think, Daniel?
I mean, you have to broach this with. If Dad's not initiating this conversation, you got to go out to coffee and go, Dad, this may feel awkward for you. I don't know if you have thoughts or feelings about this, but at some point, if you have in your mind that I'm going to be running this when you're not here, we have to start this discussion. And Dave talks about this with his kids and us around here. And the idea of succession is not you're ripping this away from Dad, and it's emotional for Dad, But if you got, the old mile relay where people are running around the track and it's 4 people add up to a mile and they got the baton where they hand it off, there's a lane where they're running together. And you got to be running the same speed together so you have a smooth handoff of that baton. And if you just go, oh, Dad's gone, and now we got to run this thing, all the tax implications, legal, money, what does Mom think? Like, if you guys haven't sat down and talked through all this stuff and started working on it gradually, it creates a lot of pain, and it happens all the time. So I think you got to bring it up with Dad in a way that honors him as the founder.
Hey, Dad, you got a wonderful business you built. You're an incredible man. If you grab your chest and as you're falling back into the grave, toss me the keys, you're going to screw this whole thing up. Now, you can say that a little less blunt than that, but that's basically what's happening.
Right, and that's kind of, I think, one of the fear is because we've gotten along so well for many years working together.
Yep.
You don't want to create an abrasive situation.
I'm not trying to be ungrateful, and I'm not trying to push you out, but we got to start talking about this. You're freaking 64 years old. You're not immortal.
Well, Brad, and you're not going to have the whole conversation in the first conversation. I think your first conversation is getting an agreement with your dad that you're going to start meeting for coffee once a month, and over the next couple years, you're going to work through this together. Okay, once a week, but your frequency is a little higher because you're starting a little later, but you can't get it all figured out in that first discussion. Your first discussion is just to kind of break the dam and get the water flowing, and then get Dad emotionally around the idea that this is going to be a regular discussion you guys are having.
And here's you some bait. Okay, all the data we have in studying family businesses, including ours, and my personal experience too, is the most difficult transition is from Gen 1 to Gen 2 emotionally.
Right.
Because founders, those of us that start something from a card table in our living room, start something from your garage, founders are hard heads. We are stubborn jerks. We will not be denied. You cannot stop us. We're a bulldozer in a china shop, and that's how we survived, and it's how we grew this. Okay, and it's hard to. It's often hard for a founder to turn loose because their identity is so tied up in what he's been doing all these years, and turning loose of that is very, very difficult. And I teach it. And I'm doing it, but there are moments when people around here take over, including my family, and I feel less important, and I had a strategy to be less important, but then, dadgum, the strategy worked.
Yeah, you got to understand that the tension here is what Dave just outlined. He wants it to live on, but it's going to be hard to let go. And I think if you can understand that natural tension, take Daniel's advice when you sit down, Dave's advice on those weeklies, and you do honor, but you've got to understand the psychology here, what Dave's talking about. It's huge.
But I got to tell you, man, you guys you need to be in panic mode. I don't want you to bulldoze too fast, but by Christmas, you need a plan.
Yeah, there's 3 phases to this. The first phase is emotional, and then the next phase is the strategy, and then tactics. So let the emotional thing happen for a few reps here, maybe a couple weeks, 2-3 weeks, because Dave's right. It's part of his identity, and you're changing his identity. You're messing with his baby. And then get to tactics by the end of the year, so you guys have a plan, and your team's starting to execute against that plan.
Yeah. And Dad, if you die this year, what happens to the stock? Am I supposed to work for Mom?
Right.
You know, you don't have any of this figured out. Because you guys are not talking about the elephant in the room.
You need a list of all the questions you have.
How do we get to the elephant part?
Yep.
Yeah. You just, hey, Dad, there's an elephant, and we got to eat this elephant a bite at a time. We got to figure this thing out. And you know what the good news in your conversation is? You and your dad actually get along.
Yeah, we like to.
Yeah, you like each other. You like each other. You respect him, and I got to tell you, he probably respects you more than you realize. And so this is going to work. You're going to be able to do this. What we run into too often when we're coaching with people is the family's so freaking dysfunctional, and that dysfunction rolls over into the business, and you can't do nothing until you get that fixed.
Yeah.
So, hey, it's an EntreLeadership theme hour. This is the Dave Ramsey Show. One of the things that makes the Dave Ramsey Show unique from other shows is that we genuinely care about our listeners. That's why we're intentional about choosing advertisers that we know will serve our listeners well. Blinds.com is no exception. For years, I've been telling you how amazing these guys are. Blinds.com offers high-quality window treatments at unbelievable prices, and their customer service is unbeatable. They make buying, measuring, and installing blinds fun, affordable, and shockingly easy. And if you accidentally mismeasure or pick the wrong color, they'll remake your blinds for free. When you're looking for window blinds, the only place you need to go is Blinds.com. With Blinds.com, you get free samples, free shipping, and when you use the promo code Ramsey, you'll save even more. Take advantage of this week's special promotional offer when you go to Blinds.com and use the promo code Ramsey.
All right, it's my last segment of the day, and Bubba from our EntreLeadership team joins me once again. Bubba, it's been fun hanging out with you.
It's been fun, man. I can't believe this is the last segment.
I know. So sad. We should hang out in real life. That's what we'll do. We're friends now.
We actually should.
So everyone watching out there, I wanted to let them know what kind of resources we have available, all the different areas you guys are touching. So first, we just heard Dave talk about the EntreLeadership Summit event, which is coming up at the end of April. Who's that for?
Summit is for if you're a business owner, business leader, team member. This is a great way to develop your leadership skills. I mean, we've got the best of the best coming to speak and lead. Peyton Manning will be there. Simon Sinek will be there, of course. Dave, Chris Hogan, and that is the place to take your leaders of your company to help them grow as leaders.
And we also have this kind of deeper dive workshop style event right here in Nashville. What's that?
That's called EntreLeadership Master Series. We have one coming up in the fall, and that is for if you are the owner of a business, if you're going to bring your leadership team, that is the place to come, because we will open up the playbook to help you understand, okay, how do you really apply these EntreLeadership principles to the current state of your business and cast vision moving forward.
Yeah, and if they just want to get their feet wet, of course, we have the EntreLeadership book, and if you're like me, you love an audiobook or an ebook, it's available in those formats as well, and this is really where it all started. A great read there, and a free resources we have available is the EntreLeadership podcast, which is just exploded.
It's awesome. I mean, you've gotten to hear Ken Coleman for the past hour on Dave's show. He's host the Ken Coleman Show. He has a side job, like Dave said earlier, to host the EntreLeadership podcast. So check that out. If you don't know where to go next, go to the podcast, get the book, go to EntreLeadership.com. Great places to start.
Yes. So if you're in the business world, a leader, a team member, you've got to get plugged into this stuff, because I think a lot of people look up to Dave and they're going, hey, Dave has built this amazing organization. He's a man of integrity. He has an amazing culture. We were voted best place to work 10 years. I mean, this stuff is not just stuff that we talk about. We live this stuff. So I appreciate you hanging out with us. Hope you all have enjoyed this EntreLeadership theme hour. We've got a few more minutes of that coming to you, but this is it for me and Bubba. So we'll wave goodbye, Bubba. Thanks for hanging out.
Take care, y'all.
Our scripture of the day is Psalm 55:22. Cast your cares on the Lord, and he will sustain you. He will never let the righteous be forsaken. John F. Kennedy said, those who dare to fail miserably can achieve greatly. By the way, if you've not seen Apollo 11 documentary in the theater in IMAG, go see it. You will stand up and say the Pledge of Allegiance and sing the Star Spangled Banner when you're done. It's the most patriotic thing I've seen in I don't know when. I was so proud to be an American. I'm in.
It's that good.
It was great.
It's out right now.
It was great. It's a complete documentary. There's no actors. It's the real footage from the real thing. Wow. And of course, we were little kids. You guys were tiny kids or not born or something. But
we're not going to talk about that.
Sharon and I were little kids, and we're both sitting there going, I remember that. I remember that. Yeah. And the hairdos from the 60s and the sun and the glasses. It's fabulous. All right, EntreLeadership Summit is coming up. We've got the Grand Hall experience. The overflow is on on sale. The thing has been sold out for almost a year. I mean, it sells out within about a month or two of us launching the next year. Hint, hint, we're getting ready to launch another one after this, so just be ready with your ticket finger pusher thingy. And so San Diego is April the 28th through the May the 1st. Peyton Manning, Simon Sinek, Sarah Blakely, and a bunch of others. I mean, we were talking at the break. This is one of the best lineups on a leadership conference in the world today.
If I didn't produce this event, I would go to this event.
Absolutely right. Yeah, this is so. Text the word Summit 2019 to 44222. The word Summit 2019 to 44222. Ken Coleman, Ramsey personality, and our EVP of the EntreLeadership and Business Boutique brands, Daniel Tardy, one of our operating board members, here to answer your questions. This is the panel for small business this hour, the EntreLeadership panel. Thank you for joining us. The phone number here is 888-825-5225. Philip is in El Paso, Texas. Hi, Philip. How are you?
I'm doing well, Dave. How about yourself?
Better than I deserve. What's up?
Hey, just really thankful to be on this call. So I work for my dad's business, and I've worked there, grew up working in the shop. I learned most of what I know from my dad. I read EntreLeadership, Profit First, How the Mighty Fall. I listened to all the Ramsey Solution podcasts and all that, and by doing so, over the past few years, I've seen the problems in my dad's business. I've tried talking with him, inviting him to watch and listen, offering help, not in a cocky attitude, but in a humble way, saying some things need to change. And all I've gotten was a bunch of empty promises. A lot of what I say falls on deaf ears. I know I'm the kid and the whole powder butt syndrome, but I really care about my dad and his business.
How old are you?
I'm 26.
Okay.
How old is Dad?
And my dad's 58.
50s? Okay.
So, this is something I've been praying about long and hard. I started my own business back in December thanks to Ken Coleman. Me and him talked this past fall, and he gave me a little bit of a push, kick in the rear, to get going. But I'm not self-sustaining. I guess my question being, do I stay being miserable working for my dad, go full-time on my business, or go find a job elsewhere for the time being?
Well, the timing matters, but what's your long game? I mean, what do you want to do ultimately?
Ultimately, I want to do my side business, what I started back in December, doing hand sketches and digital designs of vehicles for customers. So that
is
they know
that a different business than your dad is in?
He is in the custom car restoration business, but what I do is sketching it out, doing full color renderings, and
you make a living doing that?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not doubting it. I just didn't know.
Yeah. Well,
no.
Well, Philip, here's the deal. I don't remember everything I told you that day, but I'm pretty sure that if I told you to start this side business, I also told you that you need to stay where you are until you can step into this as a full-time play. So you have to prove this. Dave's asking the right question. You do this as a function for your dad's renovation shop, but now you want to go do this for other people. So you have to continue to prove that and do that. And I don't think that you're that miserable that you can't stay there with Dad. I think what's going on is mentally you're going, I'm tired of this. I'm now doing my own thing, and here's what's happening. So now it's seeping into your heart, and now it's creating a little bit of tension, maybe a slight bit of bitterness, because you're going, it's only a matter of time, I believe, before I can step out of this. And I think what you have to do is step back and say,
how much money are you making on your side gig?
I started back in December, and I've made about $1,000 since.
Yeah, he's in the embryonic stages.
Yeah, you're going to starve to death.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I mean, what do you think you can do with this?
I mean, if you went full-time, you'd starve to death.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying stay. I mean, he has to stay.
Yeah.
If things aren't that bad, you can do this. You know, I mean, I can't tell you, Daniel, Dave, we've all had moments in our lives and seasons where we were kind of putting our licks in, and we were taking the cuts at the plate, and we were preparing. And so this is a situation, if you believe in this side business, you really believe it can be what you're going to do, then you got to give that a run before you decide to quit.
The frustrations you have are not unique to you and your dad's business. Between 25 and 35, there's a lot of stuff here that I didn't really like. But it wasn't my place yet to start influencing how everything worked. And so some of that is just a few more gray hairs, a little bit more season, a little more reps under your belt. And so if your relationship with your father is good outside of work, you don't want to do something that's going to kind of mess that up, right? And if long term you're not sure you want to work in this business, I would say slow down, be patient, learn, Take your dad to coffee and get his advice on life. You got a cool opportunity to get to work with your dad.
Maybe he could. I would ask him to coach you on your side gig.
That's good.
The only thing I'm having a hard time with that is, I see a lot of ways my dad is not being a good steward of the money that he's receiving, and
that's none of your business.
Okay.
You're being so judgmental. I mean, you need to just slow down, dude. I mean, he's a 58-year-old guy that has raised you to this point, and I don't think your judgment is wrong. But let's pretend this wasn't your dad; that was just your leader, and they weren't handling the money properly. It's none of your business. You're an employee. I mean, you can look at it and go, I think this whole thing's going to go down the tubes. I need to look for a job. But other than that, you don't walk into your boss and go, you're handling the dadgum money wrong.
Okay, and I understand that. I really do come at it with a humble heart because I care about my dad. But
well, that's true. But you're holding your dad up to the scorecard that we put out for all these business leaders everywhere on EntreLeadership and how to run debt free. If he's not doing that, if he's not bought in, you're not going to push this rock uphill fast enough for it to impact where he's at.
How much are you making for your dad right now?
Like what I get paid?
Yeah. What do you make?
I make net $24,000 a year.
Okay. Can you go do that in El Paso, Texas for somebody else? The same basic function, same basic role for somebody else? Can you make that?
Mm-hmm.
Then you got to consider that as an option.
If
For the relationship between you and your dad, if you're getting to a point where you can't take it any longer and you can't just, man up and finish out until you're ready to step into the side business, then go work for somebody else. But again, you're full-time until you can make that part-time, that side hustle, a full-time gig.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, and the other thing is, don't surprise your dad.
Yeah.
Don't just walk in one day and go, I'm doing this side thing. So let him watch this side gig build and let him know that that's your dream. And he may want you to work somewhere else while you're dreaming. That might be a thing. It might be good for everybody.
It's a good discussion to have. And if you don't respect your dad as a leader,
that's what he's saying.
You got to work somewhere where you respect your leader, but you're not necessarily going to get them to see the world the way you see it, especially at 26. I'm sorry, there's a lot of life you got to ramp up to this before you start speaking into things like that.
Yeah, we've got 820 team members. A 26-year-old that we don't have anybody making $24K, but a 26-year-old that's making entry-level money here is not going to roll into my office and tell me how to run this. I'm 58.
They'll roll back out.
I would actually like to see that. That would be kind of fun.
I want to buy tickets to that.
I mean, I'm not disrespectful to our team members,
No.
but you don't have the chops to sit at that table.
Know
That's
your
what
place.
it comes down to.
That's exactly right.
And you got to get your chops.
That's right.
And so go get them somewhere else, or prove your business out there in the market, and then move to that. Mm-hmm. And I appreciate your humility, and I appreciate that you're being kind and gentle, and I appreciate that you're learning as much as you're learning, and how you're aspiring to do that. Do all of that. That's all great. That's all great.
Patience.
But a little patience with your dad would be an awesome thing right here. A little grace. For the short term, anyway. Hey, guys, thanks for coming by. This was fun. Let's do it again. That was a good hour. Really good information. We'll be back with you before you know it. In the meantime, remember, there's ultimately only one way to financial peace, and that's to walk daily with the Prince of Peace, Christ Jesus.